Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. In this podcast, I'll be taking an in-depth look at the Central Division teams in the NHL. In this podcast, I'll be taking an in-depth look at Central Division teams in the NHL and what their expectations are heading into the season. The Chicago Blackhawks are clearly in a rebuilding phase, prioritizing young talent and depth over immediate contention. With Connor Bedard as the franchise centerpiece, the team is building around a youthful core, especially on defense. Chicago has surrounded Bedard with a solid core of forwards, including Frank Nazar, Ryan Donato, Andrei Burakovsky, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Teuvo Teravainen. The Blackhawks also have a young core on defense, which is built around Artem Levshunov, the second overall pick from 2024, Sam Rinzel, and Alex Vlasic. With Chicago in a full rebuild phase, they will have veterans available for trade before and during the season, such as Connor Murphy, Nick Foligno, and Jason Dickinson. Spencer Knight was brought in last season in a trade for Seth Jones and will get the chance to be the team's full-time starter. They've made modest offseason moves, signaling a focus on development rather than playoff urgency. Chicago still has ample cap room, allowing for low-risk veteran signings or trade flexibility. The Blackhawks aren't expected to contend yet, but they are expected to be a much better team than last season. A successful season means they're developing their young core while making strides towards the playoffs. Some questions for the 25-26 season. 1. Who rides shotgun with Bedard? Andrei Burakovsky is the front runner for Bedard's left wing. He has veteran instincts and past chemistry with Ryan Donato, which makes this trio a potential top line. Ryan Donato is coming off a career year with 31 goals and thrives playing in dirty areas. Expect experimentation early, but this line could be elite if it clicks. 2. Who will be the starting goalie? Spencer Knight is penciled in as the starter for right now, but he'll be under pressure to perform. Arvid Soderblom is back on a 2-year deal and could push for starts. Laurent Brossoit is the wild card. If healthy, he adds playoff-tested depth. 3. Is their defense too young? Artem Levshunov and Sam Rinzel are expected to make the jump. Only Connor Murphy has more than 3 years of experience in the league. My prediction is that the Chicago Blackhawks finish 8th in the Central. The Colorado Avalanche are firmly in win-now mode, blending elite talent with savvy veteran additions. With an elite core of players led by Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, Martin Necas, Gabriel Landeskog, Devon Toews, and Valeri Nichushkin, and a great supporting cast including Brock Nelson, Arturi Lehkonen, Sam Girard, and Josh Manson, Colorado is poised to contend once again. After a disappointing first-round exit last season, GM Chris McFarland made bold moves to shore up their center depth, add grit to the blue line, and stabilize their goaltending. The goal is to return to their championship form. Though Colorado didn't add anyone significant, they retained several key players, including Mackenzie Blackwood, who was set to be a UFA and is slated to be their number 1 goalie. The other player they brought back was Brock Nelson, who will shore up their second line and will make their top 6 lethal. One key addition on the blue line will be Brent Burns, who joined the team in free agency. He'll be a solid third-pair defenseman and a key contributor on the second power play unit. The Avs' bottom 6 is a bit weak at the time being, and is still a work in progress, especially with Logan O'Connor out until November. Key questions for the 25-26 season. 1. How effective will Gabriel Landeskog be? After nearly 3 years recovering from knee surgery, the captain returned in last year's playoffs with 4 points in 5 games. This is the first offseason in years where Colorado expects him to play a full, impactful season. 2. How will the defense look? Cale Makar and Devon Toews are locked in as the top pair, but after that, the rest of the defense looks uncertain, and the combos could be a work in progress. Sam Girard should be on the second pair, but who will join him on the second pair? Brent Burns signed a 1-year deal at age 40 to chase his first Stanley Cup. He adds size, leadership, and PK prowess. Mackenzie Blackwood enters his first full season as the Avs' true number 1 goalie. Blackwood's playoff performance raised concerns despite strong regular season numbers. 4. Do the Avalanche have enough scoring depth? There is no doubt that Colorado has scoring from their top 6, but in matchups where their top 6 gets shut out, do they have enough scoring depth to match teams like Dallas, St. Louis, Winnipeg, and Minnesota? Colorado could explore bringing in a player like Victor Olofsson to play on the third line. My prediction is that the Colorado Avalanche finish second in the Central. After falling short in the Western Conference Final for the third straight year, Dallas parted ways with Pete DeBoer and brought in Glenn Gulutzan. The move signals a shift towards more adaptive in-game management and better playoff matchups, especially after DeBoer's questionable deployment against Edmonton in 2025. Mikko Rantanen's arrival mid-season in 24-25 transformed Dallas's rush offense, but also exposed defensive vulnerabilities, especially on zone entries. For the time being, Jason Robertson remains a part of the Dallas Stars. He has been the subject of recurring trade rumors this offseason due to his looming contract extension and Dallas's limited cap space. Dallas currently has a forward core of Mikko Rantanen, Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnson, Matt Duchene, and Tyler Seguin, and will also have to find a way to replace the recently departed Mason Marchment, who they had to trade away to Seattle due to cap constraints. Dallas is anchored on defense by Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, and Thomas Harley, who is looking for a new contract. Jake Ottinger is entering the first year of his new contract, which will pay him $8.25 million AAV for the next 5 seasons. The Stars' window to win is now, but it could quickly close with players like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and Matt Duchene aging. Key questions for the 25-26 season. 1. How consistent will their power play be? Despite elite talent like Jason Robertson, Roope Hintz, and Mikko Rantanen, the Stars' power play has hovered around mid-league efficiency. They struggle to generate high-danger chances consistently with the man advantage, which could be costly in tight playoff games. 2. How good is their defensive depth? Dallas has a big three on defense with Miro Heiskanen, Thomas Harley, and Esa Lindell, who lock the majority of the minutes, but the rest of their defense is unproven. Injuries to top pair defensemen could expose the lack of reliable second or third pair options. While Thomas Harley is emerging, analysts suggest Dallas may need to acquire a veteran defenseman at the deadline to stabilize the group. Do they have enough secondary scoring? The top line is potent, with Roope Hintz and Mikko Rantanen. Jason Robertson and Wyatt Johnson, along with Matt Duchene, also can score. But beyond those players, can the other players in the lineup contribute consistently? 4. An aging core and transition risk. Veterans like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and Matt Duchene are nearing the twilight of their careers. While the Stars have drafted well, the transition from old core to the new generation must be seamless to avoid a performance dip. My prediction is that the Dallas Stars finish first in the Central. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at HockeyWiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/HockeyWiz777scouting. The Minnesota Wild are entering the season with renewed optimism and a clear mandate from GM Bill Guerin: push past the first round and become a legit contender. They've made it to the playoffs 11 of the last 13 seasons, but have lost in the first round in 8 of the last 9 appearances. Guerin has declared this the best position the team has been in since he took over, citing roster depth and internal growth. The most important thing for Minnesota this upcoming season is staying healthy. In 24-25, Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson-Ek, and Matt Zuccarello all missed significant time due to injury. Marco Rossi is currently penciled in as the team's second-line center, but he will more than likely not be on the team come training camp because of a contract dispute. While the Wild didn't add anyone significant in free agency, they did make some targeted additions to bolster their depth with experienced veterans, including Vladimir Tarasenko from Detroit. He brings Stanley Cup pedigree, a ring in 2019 and 2024. Nico Sturm is also a 2-time Cup winner and adds grit and familiarity, having played for Minnesota from 2019 to 2022. Danila Yurov, the Wild's first-round pick in 2022, will be joining the team for the 25-26 season. He will start the season playing on the third line with Ryan Hartman and Liam Ogren. Jonas Brodin is expected to miss the beginning of the season. This opens up opportunity for Zeev Byam to play a top 4 role on the team alongside Jared Spurgeon on the second pair. A roster battle to watch will be who wins out the third pair lefty spot alongside Zach Bogosian. Will it be Carson Lambos or David Juracek? Key questions for 25-26. 1. Can they finally break through in the playoffs? Last season's first round loss to Vegas was tight, with 3 1-goal games and 2 OT games. Guerin believes they weren't overmatched, signaling a shift in mindset. 2. Where will the offense come from? Minnesota ranked 25th in goals per game last season. Kaprizov, Boldy, and Rossi made up the bulk of their scoring. They lacked secondary scoring, so they will need to come up with better secondary scoring this season. Or could a veteran forward like Vladimir Tarasenko provide a source of secondary scoring? 3. How will the Marco Rossi situation play out? Marco Rossi has still not signed yet, and the contract talks remained at a stalemate. Will Rossi hold out, or will Minnesota give in and trade him? 4. Will the penalty kill improve? Minnesota was ranked 30th on the PK for 2 straight seasons. Coach John Hines insists that the system works, citing the success with Team USA, but the personnel on the team may be the issue. My prediction is that the Minnesota Wild finish 5th in the Central. After a disappointing 24-25 campaign, GM Barry Trotz is doubling down on his long-term vision, blending veteran leadership with emerging talent. Trotz admitted that the team wasn't very good last season, despite high hopes. He's sticking with head coach Andrew Brunette, calling him a solution-based guy who needs some time to grow into the role. The goal remains threading the needle between competitive play and long-term development. While Nashville didn't overhaul the roster like they did last year, they've made strategic tweaks to the roster, including adding Eric Holla in a trade from the New Jersey Devils and adding Nick Hague in a trade from the Vegas Golden Knights. Nashville also signed Nick Perbix in free agency, which solidifies the decor a bit. UC Saros and Roman Josi are the longest tenured Predators and are hoping for a bounce-back season after a miserable 24-25 campaign. Despite last season's letdown, the Predators believe they're on a cusp of a turnaround because of the locker room stability with veterans such as Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, and Jonathan Marchessault. Michael McCarron played 74 games last season, combining physical play with improved two-way game and gained growing trust from the coaching staff. With his current contract being just $900K, he could be subject to trade bait. Another player who could be subject to trade bait is Cole Smith, a power forward winger who excels on the PK, making just $1 million. Trotz emphasized the need for full commitment across all levels, from players to staff. Young players are expected to take on bigger roles. They will need players like Fedor Svechkov, Matthew Wood, Ozzy Weisblatt, and Zachary Laharoux to chip in a bit in the bottom 6. Key questions for 25-26. Will their 5-on-5 play improve? Barry Trotz identified even strength performance as a major weakness. The team struggled to generate sustained offensive zone time and high danger chances 5-on-5 last season. 2. How good will the team chemistry be? Trotz acknowledged the roster didn't come together early last season. The mix of veterans and youth lacked cohesion, especially in transition play and defensive coverage. 3. Coaching development. Brunette remains under scrutiny, but has Trotz's full support. The front office views him as a young hockey mind who needs to expand his tactical toolkit. 4. Has Roman Josi declined? At 35, Josi is still considered one of the league's best defensemen, but his production dropped off a cliff last season from 85 points in 23-24 to 38 points in 24-25. It's worth noting Josi was diagnosed with POTS, a condition which can cause an abnormal increase in heart rate when changing posture. This cost him 29 games in the 24-25 season. My prediction is that the Nashville Predators finish 7th in the Central. After sneaking into the playoffs last season and pushing Winnipeg to 7 games, the St. Louis Blues are aiming to build on that momentum with a mix of savvy acquisitions and internal growth. GM Doug Armstrong calls it a not quite a rebuild, but also not quite a retool. St. Louis could very well be the sleeper team in the Central Division, with no true superstars but 4 very solid forward lines two solid D pairs, and a solid starter in Jordan Binnington, who although can be inconsistent, when on his game can be one of the league's best. Most teams have a dominant top 6, but the Blues can truly roll 4 lines deep. They had 5 players score 20 plus goals and 7 forwards score 18 plus goals. St. Louis put Nick Leddy on waivers to create cap space and used that freed up cap space to sign iScooter, who will slot in on the second line with Dylan Holloway and Jordan Kyrou. Jimmy Snuggerud, who joined the Blues at the end of last season, is expected to start the season on the top line, along with Thomas and Buchnevich. Nick Bukestad is signed to be the fourth line center and provides depth in the bottom 6. This gives St. Louis the flexibility to move around several players in the lineup, including Matthew Joseph and Oscar Sundqvist. Cam Fowler was acquired in a trade from Anaheim in the midst of last season and fit in instantly. He'll get a full season under his belt, being paired alongside the ultra-reliable Colin Parayko. The third pair is still a work in progress. Right now, it's Tyler Tucker being paired along with Logomeu. Young prospects like Dalibor Dvorsky, Otto Stenberg, and Simon Robertson could make an impression out of camp and could come into play if injuries occur. Key questions for the 25-26 season. How stable will goaltending be? Jordan Binnington is known for emotional highs and lows. Save percentage has fluctuated wildly. He can steal games, but also lose them single-handedly if his confidence dips. Joel Hafer has been promising, but unproven. He only played 69 NHL games in his career with a .907 save percentage. If Binnington falters and Hafer isn't ready, the Blues don't have a reliable third option. 2. Aging decor. Cam Fowler, Justin Falk, and Colin Parayko are all in their 30s. Their declining mobility and durability could be exposed against faster teams. Logan Mailloux is talented but raw, only played 8 NHL games. The X factor on the decor is Philip Broberg. If Broberg regresses, it could be a recipe for disaster. 3. Over-reliance on breakout seasons. Dylan Holloway had a breakout 63-point season last year and shot 14.6%, well over career norms. Regression could leave a scoring gap in the top 6. Jimmy Snuggerud is a rookie with just 14 NHL games under his belt. Expectations are high, but he is still a young player. If Holloway or Snuggerud underperform, the Blues could lack proven secondary scoring. 4. Streaky scorers and line chemistry. Jordan Kyrou remains streaky. He's elite when hot, but invisible when cold. Brayden Schenn is aging and may struggle to keep pace in the top 6 role, which could push him to the third line. Line chemistry is evolving, especially with new additions to the lineup. My prediction is that the St. Louis Blues finish 4th in the Central. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. After relocating from Arizona to Utah in 2024, the franchise was officially branded as the Mammoth and will play their first season under the moniker. With the rebranded identity and aggressive offseason moves, they're aiming to become a legitimate contender in the playoffs. After a transitional first season, the Mammoth now have a clearer vision. Build a competitive, physical, and fast team that reflects Utah's rugged identity. Utah already has a really good young core consisting of Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, and Barrett Ayton up front, along with Mikhail Sergachev and Sean Durzi on defense. They add JJ Peterka to the team after acquiring him in a sign-and trade for Josh Stone and Michael Kessering. Nick Schmaltz is the forgotten member of the top 6, especially after the Peterka acquisition. With Schmaltz being a UFA in 2026, it's highly likely he gets dealt during the season. Jack McBain is expected to play a bigger role on the team as the team's third-line center alongside Lawson Krause and Alex Kerfoot. Brandon Tanev was brought in to bring some physical edge to the lineup on the fourth line. The defense is also looking improved this season with the acquisition of Nate Schmidt. Plus, with both Sean Durzi and John Marino fully healthy, this defensive core is quietly very good. Kyle Vejmelka has won over the starting job for Utah. The question is, who will be the backup, Connor Ingram or Vitek Vanacek? The Mammoth are no longer just a relocation story now. They're a team with identity and ambition. Key questions for 25-26. 1. Can Logan Cooley become a star? Logan Cooley showed flashes last season, but he needs to prove he can remain consistent. If he can hit 65 plus points, Utah's offense could take a major leap. 2. Is the defense deep enough? Mikhail Sergachev is elite, but Nate Schmidt is aging. John Marino and Sean Durzi must remain healthy. If Marino and Durzi miss time, who will step up? Will Utah make a playoff push or will they plateau? The Mammoth are expected to challenge for a wildcard spot. The physical style and altitude advantage at the Delta Center could be a key. 4. Will they trade Nick Schmaltz? Schmaltz scored 63 points in 82 games in 24-25. He's a UFA in 2026, has insane value on the trade market, especially with a weak class of free agent wingers in 2025. Contenders will overpay trying to improve their top 6. My prediction is that the Utah Mammoth finish 6th in the Central. The Winnipeg Jets are heading into the 25-26 NHL season, blending elite performance, aging stars, and a ticking clock on their championship window. After winning the President's Trophy last season with 116 points and a plus 86 goal differential, the Jets are entering this season with high expectations. But there are also looming questions with aging stars and roster sustainability. Connor Hellebuyck won the Vezina and Hart trophies last season. Connor Hellebuyck won the Vezina Trophy last season for the second straight year. Kyle Connor is a UFA in 2026, which makes it even more critical for Winnipeg to win this season. However, GM Kevin Cheveldayoff must balance contention with long-term planning. Winnipeg retained Gabe Vilardi on an 8-year deal, which keeps their top line intact for this season. Besides adding 3-time Stanley Cup winner and Manitoba native Jonathan Toews, the Jets also added Gustav Nyquist and Tanner Pearson in free agency. The Jets will have to find a way to overcome the loss of Nikolai Ehlers, who was an essential part of their team for a long time, but left to sign with Carolina this offseason. Winnipeg is bringing back the same decor as last season, so there should be relatively no problem on defense. The Winnipeg Jets are in win-now mode, but if they didn't win last season, they might have missed their best opportunity, especially in a loaded Central Division. Questions for the 25-26 season. 1. Can Jonathan Toews still contribute? After 2 years away, Jonathan Toews is expected to start on the third line, but could earn a second line center role if healthy. 2. Will Connor Hellebuyck stay elite in the playoffs? Despite dominant regular seasons, Connor Hellebuyck has looked human in the postseason, which has led to early exits for the Jets. 3. Who will replace Nikolai Ehlers' productions? Nikolai Ehlers scored 60-plus points in back-to-back seasons. Only Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele have had this type of production on the team. Winnipeg will need everyone to step up. My prediction is that the Winnipeg Jets finish 3rd in the Central. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/HockeyWizTravels. The Central Division is loaded, and there are as many as 6 teams that could make the playoffs, including the top 3 teams in that division that would be considered contenders. With that in mind, there are still a lot of questions that need to be answered before the season. In my next podcast, I'm going to be taking an in-depth look at Metropolitan Division teams.